Ready for some electrifying action now at New Smyrna Speedway. The mighty Modifieds now lined up on the front stretch here, and a beautiful night here in New Smyrna Speedway, about 20 minutes south on I-95 from Daytona International Speedway. The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series doing battle there tonight. But we got quite the battle here as well with the Richie Evans Memorial 100-lap race for the Tour Type Modifieds. And what a great field of Modifieds we have here at New Smyrna Speedway. Hello, everybody. I am Bob Dillner. Alongside of me is Adam Mackey. And you've been hearing Adam all night long, but I've been saving myself for this particular race because it means so much. It's in honor of the 9-time NASCAR National Modified Champion, Richie Evans. He was the king of the Modifieds, the Rapid Roman, the Hall of Famer. And on 26 different occasions, he went to victory lane here at this racetrack. He has a winning percentage of over 500 here in the World Series.
That is a good win percentage. No doubt, and every year this is the biggest race of the World Series, without a question. We've had great races all week long in the Tour Type Modifieds. Tonight is the one that they've all looked forward to.
What we're going to do is we're going to take you from the rear of the field to the front of the field and tell you about some of the drivers that we have in tonight's starting lineup. So we'll start right at the rear with the number 70 machine. Matt Montanari is back there as well in the 71, but they've kind of swapped spots on the racetrack.
Yeah, the 70 of Jeremy Gerstner. He had John Gerstner driving the 70 earlier this week. Jeremy breaking the engine, a champion in a modified tour this past season. So Jeremy then jumps in the 70. He's driving the 70 car tonight. Jeremy Gerstner out of Wesley Chapel, Florida, the 2017 Southern Modified Racing Series champion. The 71X on the outside, Bob mentioned him, Matt Montanari. Matt Montanari driving that 71 car, a 35-year-old driver from Connecticut. He's been competing in the World Series for several years.
Going to have a great starting field here tonight. Before we go through the rest of the starting lineup, right now we want to bring in the third member of our broadcast team. Rob Blount has been manning the pit area for us throughout the day, and he has a report on one of the drivers in tonight's starting field. Rob?
Thanks, Bob. Standing by next to Craig Lutz's car. Craig Lutz rolls off ninth tonight. The Miller Place Long Island native finished third on Wednesday night. He finished second here last night. He only has one spot better to do. Bob, I know he's your pick. If you see right there, he's got Ted Christopher riding with him. Let's see if Ted Christopher can guide him to a win here tonight in the Richie Evans Memorial.
Craig Lutz, winner at Waterford Speedball in Connecticut, and there is Rob Blount. But I want to go back to that. That is very important because tonight not only is this the Richie Evans Memorial, but New Smyrna Speedway and the entire event that is the World Series is also honoring Teddy Christopher. He's won more of these modified championships during the World Series than anyone else. And Teddy is truly missed down here this time of the year here at New Smyrna because the Modifieds electrify this place. Well, so did Ted Christopher, who lost his life last year for so many years.
Yeah, absolutely. When I came down in 2001 as a race fan, the first time I got to see Teddy Christopher race, he was competing in super late models and the Tour Type Modifieds, racing a lot of laps in a lot of divisions that year. And obviously the first couple of years I came down to cover it for Speed 51 a few years ago and then with Fans Choice TV. Just a driver you look forward to watching compete year in and year out down here at the World Series.
Going back to the starting grid, we met some of the drivers already. Want to introduce you to others, and you see the pink and white modified. That is Amy Catalano, and she is a true modified diehard from upstate New York, a competitor on the Race of Champions modified trail. She went through so much 1 year ago, and that's something that you're going to hear, at least that story about, in the coming weeks on Speed51.com. But Amy is a true racer, and this family has a lot of people racing throughout the Northeast.
Good explanation right there. Quitting is not an option, and that's partly going back to even last night where she was involved in a crash, and that crew worked really hard to put that car together for today's action. The 23D of Joey DeGracia, and he starts on the outside of what will be row number 11 in the 22nd position, a driver from New Jersey. He made 3 starts at the World Series last year, driving with autism car.
Starting in the row before will be the number 4 machine. Actually, that's the number 40 right there of Kyle Trainer. That's a brand new Spafco chassis machine. Kyle is actually the son of Dick Trainer, who ran in the Wheel and Modified Tour for so many years. Also, the Circle of Champions is what it once was first called before the tour was actually formed in 1985.
Looking forward, we've got the number 4 car starting there on the outside lane, scheduled to be 20th, Jeffrey Gallup. In car number 4 out of Massachusetts, second in the Modified Racing Series standings 1 year ago. You get a good look into the driver cockpit of the number 4 car of Gallup.
One thing I like about him, I said, Jeff, are you any relation to Richie? And he said, absolutely, that's my dad. And I grew up watching Richie gallop around the New England area. This is the driver, the number 83, Mike Willis Jr. He was top 10 in the Modified Racing Series points 1 year ago. And listen, he's had some good runs down here. A top finish of 7th this week in his first World Series attempt.
There's one of the Catalano machines, Timmy Catalano in the 45 out of Ontario, New York, a 17-year-old driver making his first World Series Tour Modified appearance. Made a pair of ROC Modified Series starts 1 year ago.
In row number 8, the number 25 machine of Calvin Carroll, last year's Rookie of the Year on the Wheel and Modified Tour. Second consecutive year he has competed in the World Series. He's had a very up-and-down week, but Calvin just 17 years old, cutting his teeth in the wars of the modified scene.
Definitely one of the young drivers here. How about this number 5 car of Ebersol? Kyle Ebersol on opening night surprised many with a second-place run. The Pennsylvania driver, 27 years of age, 2 career ROC Modified Tour wins, and he was a point runner-up back in 2012.
In row number 7, the number 32 car of Tyler Ripkema. To say he's had a difficult week would be an understatement. He actually went to victory lane here on night number 2 last year, and he was also a big winner at Lancaster National Speedway in upstate New York on the Race of Champions Modified Trail in 2017.
Looking to the outside lane, the third and final Catalano to introduce, a driver who ran pretty well a night ago. That's Tommy Catalano in the 54. He missed the first few nights, but was able to come down late in the week in this beautiful machine, and he's been the fastest of the 3 so far.
Good-looking race car for last year's Race of Champions, most popular driver. In row number 6, Patrick Emmerling went to victory lane for the first time here at New Smyrna Speedway just last night, carrying the Teddy Christopher sticker in honor of that former NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour champion, but Emmerling, a former ROC champion.
That car has been fast. This one, pretty fast as well. The 63 of Austin Pickens, a driver from Florida. 7 World Series Tour Modified starts coming into the year with 3 top 10, so not a lot of experience in the Modified here, but has run some other divisions at New Smyrna Speedway as well.
We continue to march through this field. And there you see the 179, and things are a little bit cattywampus in terms of how they have the cars gridded on the racetrack, but this is Jimmy Blewett, and he is a 6-time Turkey Derby winner at Wall Stadium Speedway in Belmar, New Jersey. You talk about tough guys, Jimmy Blewett is one of them, and he loves his modified racing. This race means a lot to him.
This number 2 car, usually we see a Bertuccio behind the wheel. This year, it's been Ronnie Williams. He's a early 20-year-old driver from Connecticut, several years as a Stafford regular, and he's been fast at times, but he's looking to put it all together tonight and end up with a strong finish.
Here's the guy that Rob Blount just spoke about, the Long Islander, Craig Lutz, in that 46 car out of the Geudael stables, and he is really turning some eyes down here, turning some heads in modified competition with a great run, a second-place finish 1 night ago.
I think everybody knows who's in this number 6 car, Ryan Preece, a driver who won on night 2 of the World Series. He's a driver that has had an up-and-down week as well. When you talk about success, McKinney won opening night. Very well could have been Preece's win. Preece has won just about every big race in the Tour Modifieds, especially when it comes to right here at New Smyrna Speedway, and he's one of the favorites tonight.
And one of the best-looking cars in the field as well. On the outside, in the number 33. In row number 3, he'll start 6th. That's Ron Silk, the 2011 NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour champion. He has a best finish of 3rd 1 night ago. So Ronnie Silk got this ride very late. There he is. You can barely see him with the helmet on the steering wheel, but he's just excited to be here competing once again at New Smyrna.
This guy's been good this week as well. A couple of nights ago, he picked up the John Blewett III Memorial. It's the number 60 of Big Money Matt Hirshman. First in the points coming in. Didn't have the run he was looking for last night, but these long-distance races, I think, play into the hands of a driver like Hirshman.
Chuck Haasfeld, the flames on the side of his car say it all. This guy is fast no matter where he races a modified, whether it's in the Race of Champions Trail, where he is a former champion, actually 3 times over, or down here where he won the 2012 Modified Series Championship.
16 of Timmy Salah Mito out of New York, the 2017 NASCAR Tour Mod point runner-up. He has been in a couple of different cars this week. He went with this one tonight. He thinks his chances are going to be a little stronger with one that's got the more traditional setup.
Time to meet the front row and some of the great stars of modified racing all over the Northeast that love coming here to New Smyrna Speedway. The driver of the number 58. He's another member of the Long Island gang. He's a winner 3 times over on the NASCAR Wheel Modified Tour and the 2012 winner of the Richie Evans Memorial here at New Smyrna Speedway, Erik Geudael.
And starting on the pole position, the 71, a very familiar car here when it comes to World Series racing. Coming into the year, had made nearly 40 World Series starts with 24 top 10s. From New York, Jimmy Zacharias, a longtime ROC modified competitor, has picked up a few wins on that series as well. And that's the field of cars and stars in tonight's race. And there's the familiar 61.
Big orange, and I love the classic modified meetup here today. So many race cars, but the Rapid Roman with that orange and car that was just infamous all over the country. And do you know the story on the orange that Richie chose?
I believe you've probably told this story, but I would like to hear it again.
Well, basically, he was looking for the color of his race car, and the local highway department had a little extra of this particular orange, and hence the Richie Evans orange was born. And I remember seeing the Pinto, the Chevette, the Gray Ghost back in the day, the Cavalier, you name it. I never saw Richie's coupe, but I saw all those cars race all over the Northeast, and it was absolutely spectacular. The Rapid Roman is simply the best. Let's go back down to Rob Blount.
Thanks, Bob. I'm standing nearby the 07 of Patrick Emmerling. He rolls off 13th tonight, but the guy he's chasing for the championship, Matt Hirshman, is rolling off just a few rows ahead of him in the 5th position. I know that Patrick just won last night. We all know that Patrick just won last night, getting his first win here at the New Smyrna World Series of Asphalt Stock Car Racing. It'll be interesting to see if he can add his first championship at this division here as well tonight.
And you hear the fans' applause during the starting lineups here. Ben Dodge, that infamous voice from the Northeast, places like Stafford and Thompson and Riverside Park. He thrills the fans, and it was great to have him here on our Fans Choice TV broadcast a little earlier to introduce the night's racing action. Here are the Tour Type Modified points coming into this one, and it's a close one between Matt Hirshman and Patrick Emmerling, just a single digit between the top 2 drivers.
Erik Geudael finds himself over 20 back. Mike Willis Jr., Craig Lutz tied for the 4th spot in the standings.
Chuck Haasfeld has had an up and down week in 6th. Kyle Ebersol started off the week really strong in that number 5 machine, but he has faded since.
Looking at the rest of the top 15 as we get ready to go. 100 laps for the Richie Evans Memorial 100. Hirshman, that 1-point advantage. Emmerling just a point behind. I think it's going to come down to maybe who wins this race, and it could be one of those two.
And the field that we see here, Ben Dodge and I talked about it earlier. This is the best field of modifieds since 1993 here at the World Series at New Smyrna Speedway. And I think a lot of credit goes to the fact that they condensed the schedule. They used to run, 8 or 9 consecutive nights, and look at that beautiful shot. That is magical right here. To see these race cars at New Smyrna Speedway is simply incredible. I remember a great battle a couple years ago between Teddy Christopher and Ron Silk. They swapped the lead a dozen times in the last half of the race. You might see that again here tonight. But getting back to that car count, 30-plus modifieds when we rolled in here on Monday. The best car count in over 2 decades here at this racetrack. but that's because they condensed the schedule to 5 nights in a row. Starting on Monday, Kim Brown, who is the general manager of New Smyrna Speedway, was very influential on that decision. Kim has been a little bit under the weather, and we wish her a speedy recovery. We love her. We miss her here this year at New Smyrna Speedway for Florida Speed Weeks.
Definitely miss seeing Kim around. She's been a fixture at the World Series ever since I've been coming here, and definitely miss seeing her here.
Take a look at some of the former winners. There's Matt Hirshman. He's the defending Richie Evans Memorial winner 2 times over. Is he a champion of this race? Ryan Priest went back-to-back from 2015 to 2016. Justin Bonza, who I'm sure is watching tonight from Long Island. He's one of those guys that likes to be a smart aleck and get on Twitter a time or two. Always bust Rob Blount for a variety of things on Twitter, but a good guy and part of the Long Island gang as well. There's Silk back in 2013. Erik Geudael, we mentioned he won in 2012. And then there's Teddy Christopher. That guy simply knew how to drive a modified. And he had the charisma and the personality that everybody just loved, unless you were a competitor of his on the racetrack.
He could ruffle some feathers, that's for sure, and we would love to have had the opportunity to see him ruffle some more feathers over the years in tour-type modified racing here at the World Series.
Let's head back downstairs for another report from Rob Blount.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. One thing that's been interesting throughout this week has been Erik Geudael's performance. He started off this week with a Spafco race car, brand new to him. And then, yesterday, he switched over to a Troyer race car. He's been fast ever since. Today, he swept both practice sessions, was top of the board in both. When he and I spoke after practice, he said, "I've got a lot of speed. We just showed it. I just hope I can qualify." Well, it worked out for him. He didn't qualify the best, but he got the invert. Now he's starting on the front row on the outside. Let's see if he can stay up there at the end of 100 laps and get his second win in this race.
And here's the interesting story on Erik Geudael's team, as we have the best crowd of the week at New Smyrna Speedway. I've been to Volusia, East Bay, Bubba, and Daytona, and here at New Smyrna during Florida Speed Weeks. And this crowd tonight is a packed house. But there's the 58 machine. That's Spafco, Detroyer, switch just a couple of days ago for Erik Geudael. He did tell us, he said, "Listen, I believe in the Spafco switch." And you can hear the cars come to life. That's 600 horsepower. The command has been given. But there's the 58 machine. That's Spafco, Detroyer, switch just a couple of days ago for Erik Geudael. He did tell us, he said, "Listen, I believe in the Spafco machine, but we put it together right before we came down here. We haven't had enough time to test it." So he thinks he'll be good on the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour season, but he wanted to go to an old reliable that he knows works at this racetrack.
Sometimes you have to step back and get into something you're familiar with for a while, and he didn't want to take a chance of using that as a training ground in a big race like a 100-lapper tonight.
I am so excited about this. I've had goosebumps all week long. You've heard me. I look forward to the modifieds each and every year down here, but this year just has a little special pizzazz, a little something extra that we haven't seen in a long time at New Smyrna Speedway. There's that number 6 machine of Ryan Priest. He's already won once this week on Tuesday night, and actually didn't have any practice in that car today because he had some obligations at the big track just up the road at Daytona.
Yeah, just about missed qualifying as well. He was coming across the back straightaway during qualifying to get to the infield, get to his car so he could give it an attempt to qualify. That he did, and he did pretty well there, locking it into the invert.
A great story with the 179 of Jimmy Blewett as well, that black and silver machine. He actually had engine difficulties a couple of days ago. Well, he thought he was done. And then all of a sudden, Tom Baldwin came to the rescue. John McKennedy won on opening night in Tom Baldwin's race car. Night number 2, he wound up with a wrecked race car. They couldn't run anymore, but the engine was still good. And when he heard Jimmy Blewett had some engine difficulty, he said, "Open up my trailer. I'll let you know how to get into it. And you take that car out, take the engine out, and place it in this 179. And Tommy Baldwin and Jimmy Blewett are old-time, old-school modified racers helping each other out here at the World Series.
Had a chance to use that combination of his car and the Baldwin engine the other night, and actually last night, and ran fairly well. It qualified extremely well, finished up into the top 5, and 179 of Blewett will be one to watch tonight, no doubt.
The stars have certainly aligned for the modifieds, and the stars are in the top 10 here tonight. Any one of these guys can win this race. And the key here, I think, is possibly saving your tires. We saw that in the John Blewett III Memorial the other night, Wednesday here, the 76-lap race. Matt Hirshman non-existent early in the race. In fact, through the first two-thirds of the race, and he came on strong at the end to win.
Yeah, the last 15 laps or so, he was by far the best race car on the track. Emmerling was pretty strong as well in the 07, rallied to get a good finish as well. But the car of Hirshman, outstanding on long runs, and in talking to everyone, that's just kind of what he's known for.
So many different stories here as well. You take a look at the guy that's starting on the inside row, in row number 2, Timmy Salamito in the 16, the second-generation race car driver. His dad, a mini-modified winner on Long Island, as well as a NASCAR modified winner. This is actually the Flamingo Motorsports number 16 ride that he brought out last night. He was actually running his own family-owned ride in the first couple of nights, trying some R&D work. Maybe that could work later on in the year in the Tour. Erik Geudael with that machine comes to a stop on the racetrack. We'll try to figure out what's going on there. But getting back to that 16 car, he brought out the big gun yesterday, but they struggled just a tad to find speed. We'll see if his fortunes get a little bit better here tonight for the Flamingo Motorsports driver.
A 100-lap race. It brings in some strategy, pit strategy, possible tire, fuel strategy. That's what makes this race even more special. The 100-lap distance and when to make a pit stop if you're going to do so.
You can see Erik Geudael getting a push, trying to get that number 58 car refired. There is that 16. And something new, a little twist, if you will, that we learned when we got to the racetrack today. And the lead tech director down here is Ricky Brooks, and he has done something called controlled cautions in super late model racing for a really long time. Geudael's car is still not coming to fire on the backstretch. But what we're going to do here tonight, we know this is a 100-lap race, but a controlled caution could happen if we have 40 consecutive green flag laps. Well, then after that mark, within the next 15, we would have a controlled caution. Teams can come down pit road. They have 3 laps in which to do so, in which you will not go a lap down if you stay on pit road for more than 1 lap. So that's a little interesting wrinkle or twist in this year's format, the controlled cautions. If we have 40 consecutive green flag laps, a caution will fly in the next 15 thereafter.
And that determination will come from scoring when it looks like it won't affect a battle for an important position on the racetrack.
That's the key thing. Right now you see the Erik Geudael team going underneath the hood of that Troyer race car on pit road, and you can see they're just checking everything out. Plug wires, you name it. They think they found something down there. Of course, it's one of the electrical gremlins. It appears that it could be. They're checking the ignition box inside the cockpit of the race car as well.
Cars getting some warm-up laps here, getting some heat in the tires as work continues. To the Geudael machine.
Want to make sure that everybody gives us a little shout-out on Twitter. Let us know where you're watching this Fans Choice TV broadcast from. Send us a picture as well. Tell us where you're watching and send us a picture. We've seen some interesting pictures of the family dog watching. It looks like Geudael's car is going to be refired here, and they'll get that hood back on the racetrack. I saw people from Texas tonight, Wisconsin, Connecticut, Massachusetts, all over the map watching tonight's broadcast on Fans Choice TV, and we hope you enjoy all of this here from the World Series.
Guarantee a lot of people all over the country and world watching tonight with this big show to end our Friday portion. The weather this week has been wonderful for those that came to the World Series, and now obviously some more issues. They got it refired. It looks like he was going to be able to take off, and then the problem crept up again.
Yeah, trouble continues. So they took the hood back off, and still a little bit puzzled down there is the Geudael team. You mentioned the temperatures, by the way. I know a lot of people in the Northeast and the Midwest, a little frozen, a little bit of snow, 85 degrees with sunny skies down here in New Smyrna Beach today.
Near record temperatures for the weather at this time of the year in the area.
I want to talk a little bit about the 71 of Jimmy Zacharias, as I believe I heard the 58 car fire once again. They are putting the hood back on that race car, so this could be good news for the man that is supposed to start on the outside of the front row, and they say, go ahead, buddy, get her going. So good to see Erik Geudael get things figured out. His team doing a good job down there. We want to get back to the man that's starting with one lap before we go green on the front row, Jimmy Zacharias. You talk about all the stories. What a story it's been for him this week. He came here to New Smyrna Speedway, competed in his first career NASCAR K&N Pro Series East event on Sunday here at this racetrack, and now has been competing. Actually had some engine difficulties, had to change the power plant on that race car. A three-time winner in the Race of Champions Modified Trail, getting ready to lead this field to the green here. It looks maybe this time by, the lights came back on the pace truck. This time by, we're expecting one to go.
Field has taken formation. They've been ready to go for a lap or two, and I think they gave a little extra time for Geudael to catch the tail on the field, and then he came back down pit road.
Look at that.
You know, he was late getting to the starting grid. It could have been partly the issue there for Geudael as well.
And this time by, we will go green flag racing, possibly with Erik Geudael on pit road. That Riverhead Building Supply, number 58, having some electrical gremlins here tonight at the start of the Richie Evans 100. Jimmy Zacharias and Chuck Haase lead the field to the green flag by the grace of God in 600 horsepower. We are racing at New Smyrna.
Zacharias the advantage for a moment, but the outside lane and the momentum for the 22 of Haase tries to pull alongside. Who will lead lap one? It's going to be Zacharias.
Zacharias in that good-looking number 71 mount. A normal runner on the Race of Champions Modified Trail out front early here, but you got to pace yourself. Ron Silk now trying to go after second place. Chuck Haase further back in the field. Look at this juggernaut. There is your point leader, the number 60 of Matt Hirshman.
Hirshman running strong in the bottom lane, was able to start in the 5th position tonight thanks to a win at Bronson earlier in the week.
Timmy Mito in the 16, now moving his way by Chuck Haase. Here comes Matt Hirshman as well. Hirshman, a winner a couple of nights ago for his second win in World Series Modified competition here at New Smyrna Speedway.
Hirshman running strong here early. You know he's been good, and he was 2 nights ago. And the John Blewett III Memorial on the long run. We're side by side heading down the backstretch.
Hirshman on the inside, battling with his nemesis, his big-time rival on the Race of Champions Modified Trail. 12 championships between these two drivers in the Race of Champions Modified Series. Both Matt Hirshman with 9 and 3-time champion in the ROC Brigade, Chuck Haase.
Side by side, Hirshman on the bottom side of the racetrack, Haase on the outside. Following closely, the 16 of Salah Mito. Haase just can't get a rhythm right now early on.
Not at all, but you never know. Is he really being, saving those tires, babying those tires? It's a big question at this point of the game. Just behind him is the number 2 of Ronnie Williams. Oh, caution, and there's Craig Lutz hard into the inside wall. A couple of other cars. In fact, your second place point man coming into this one, Patrick Emmerling, the winner 1 night ago.
Wow, a couple of very fast race cars tore up. Catalano, Pickens, they're still stopped in the grass on the inside lane in a big crash on the front straightaway. We've had a couple of those this week, and that one taking place a little back in the field, but a couple of the front runners that were expected to compete for this win.
Austin Pickens LFR ride. The Rob Fuller machine definitely bent up. Left front suspension problem on there. You can see the Nerf bar on the left side a little bent up as well. So not exactly sure what caused this here, but you can see now 6 laps into this 100-lap affair, we are under caution.
Pickens, a driver from Florida that's competed in a number of classes during the World Series, including these Tour Modifieds the last couple of seasons, and heavy damage to the front end of that race car. Zacharias is the leader. 6 laps are complete. Silk in second, Salamito, Hirshman, and Haase rounding out the top 5.
Bad break for Pickens. He's a guy that's been quick at times in practice, but we haven't seen that kind of, go into the race. This guy we had so much hope for here tonight. He was my pick to win because he had shown really well in the previous 2 nights, Craig Lutz.
Yeah, Craig Lutz has had a good race car. There's the Catalano 54. He was the quickest of the Catalano cars. His mom and brother not quite as quick. They were mired a little deeper in the field. He actually started in the 14th position tonight in the 54.
So we'll take a quick break here as we are under red flag conditions early in the Richie Evans Memorial 100 at New Smyrna Speedway. Zacharias started in second, has been the only leader for those 6 laps. Ronnie Silk moves to 33 into second. Mito picks up 2 for third. Hirshman in fourth, picks up 1 after starting in position number 5. Haase started on the outside of the front row, ends up back in the 5th spot. Ronnie Williams got high as third to settle back into the 6th position. And on the restart, it'll be Jimmy in position number 7. Behind him, Ryan Priest moves up to the 8th spot. Now Eversole up in the 9th position. Rounding out the top 10 will be the Calvin Carroll machine, car number 25. Under red flag conditions early in the Richie Evans Memorial 100 at New Smyrna Speedway, Austin Pickens, part of a 3 or 4 car wreck on the front stretch here at the World Series. You can see that car, some significant damage done for the night. One of the interesting drivers in this mix-up on the front stretch was the man who is actually second place in the point standings coming into this finale here for the Tour Type Modifieds. Patrick Emmerling, the winner one night ago, has been on pit road for a couple of times during this red flag period as the team looks over the damage on the 07 machine.
Yeah, a couple of real good race cars that we thought would be there at the end, including that guy that is second in points and the winner last night and the top qualifier the last 2 nights right there in Patrick Emmerling.
For more on Emmerling, let's go down to Rob Blount.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. They looked over the damage here. Changed the right rear tire, no tire rub. They didn't really have to move that back. The only thing that they had was some body damage on the right rear, right at the right rear corner. They actually sent him away, and then once they realized that we were going to stay under the red flag conditions, they rolled him back and decided to start beating away at the damage with a hammer. It's now beaten back in, pretty good looking. Now they're taking a look over at the left front just to make sure that everything is in line, just to make sure they didn't knock it out of alignment at all. And once they do that, they should be able to send them right back out. Big situation down here, though, obviously, is Patrick Emmerling was just 1 point out of the championship coming into tonight.
And you can see the gentleman on the left front of that race car for Emmerling is actually the champion from the Race of Champions Modified Trail from 1 year ago, Mike Leedy. His dad, Jan Leedy, a longtime modified competitor, both down here and the upstate New York portion. Also a longtime competitor on the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour, but the man speaking on the radio there is last year's Race of Champions Modified Series champion, Mike Leedy.
Got some pretty good help down there on the 07 is what you're saying.
Indeed.
And it's shown on the racetrack this week. That 07 car has been among the best, as Emmerling has been fast this week. The 63 of Pickens going away as he gets the double hook, hammock style, back to pit road as we send it back down to Rob Blount. Rob?
Yeah, Adam, it's never good to see a car go off hammock style. That's never the way you want to end your night. While we were in break, I caught up with the driver of that car, Austin Pickens. I asked him what happened from his point of view. He said it started with him. He was coming down a straightaway, and with no warning, his RPMs just shot straight up through the roof, and then without warning, his engine just turned off. He tried to get out of the way, got ran over from behind, and it was on from there.
Well, there you go. We know the cause of the accident now, and unfortunately, a few drivers collected, including Tommy Catalano in the 54.
By the way, I told you Justin Bonsignor was watching. He just tweeted us on Fans Choice TV. He said the smart aleck is indeed watching. So Justin Bonsignor is going to be a threat for the title on the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour this year. Just a good shoe. Watched him in go-karts years ago and coming through the ranks and running so good at Bristol in his first attempt, and now a winner and a championship contender on the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour. I'm honestly proud to say I've seen him for a really long time. He's indeed part of that Long Island gang that we're all part of. And Justin Bonsignor, we're looking forward to him running this year, maybe getting back down to New Smyrna next year here for the World Series.
Even though he's not been down here, I think he's been staying sharp during the off-season, driving some indoor shows with some, I guess, some smaller type race cars.
Yeah, winner actually, too. Yeah. So big congrats to Justin Bonsignor. And I expect big things with a whole chassis change and so forth for Bonsignor this year on the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour. You never know what this guy's going to do. Is he going to run the Race of Champions Modified Series? Is he going to go dirt racing like he has the past couple of years? Jimmy Zacharias and that whole Zacharias group from the upstate New York region. And when I say a group, there's like 1,000 of them up there. Been watching them run with dads and uncles and you name it. Chris Zacharias is here in the crowd someplace. I saw him the other day, but that is a dedicated racing family from upstate New York.
We've completed just 6 of the 100. The field has taken formation. We're not too far away from sending this field back to green, and that yellow flag and crash kind of happened out of nowhere. I thought they were going to log some laps early, and they had singled out for the most part. The field had kind of taken formation in a single file lane around the racetrack trying to log some laps, but when one of the cars loses power and there's nowhere to go for the competitors in behind in a tight formation, trouble brought out the yellow and red.
By the way, Rich Keeter has been watching all of our broadcasts, and he said it's 37 degrees right now where he's at. Too bad for your luck.
A little warmer than that here.
Yes, just a little bit.
50 degrees earlier today.
All right, here's Ron Silk on the inside row. Jimmy Zacharias choosing the outside for this restart. 6 laps complete. Green flag this time by.
Zacharias controlling the restart pace, hits the go button in the middle of the starting box and is off and rolling and will stay in the lead exiting turn 2.
Silk much better one night ago. They rubbed Nerf bars a little bit down there coming off of turn number 2. Hirshman, the point leader on the outside of that second row in the 60.
Wheel to wheel, up the track they go, and it opens the inside lane nearly for a 3-wide battle, but Mito drops back in line.
Mito trying to fill a hole right now. Will he get there? Ron Silk to the front, and Zacharias pushes him down the backstretch.
Nose to tail, a little bit of contact in the middle of 3 and 4, and they can make that kind of nose to tail contact like that, and it really doesn't upset the cars much.
We see that at Loudon at New Hampshire Motor Speedway so many times, but here comes Zacharias. What a run off of turn number 2 back to the inside of the 33. A little bit further back in the field, we see side-by-side racing action. Jimmy Blewett slipping up just a little bit, but Calvin Carroll almost gets squeezed into the wall in the bottom left of the screen.
Racing all over the track. We need like 16 boxes to show where all of the battles are going on. Zacharias back out front. Hirshman now for the second spot. On the outside lane, dropping to third, is Silk.
Here comes Hirshman, looking sporty early in this one. But we got a long way to go, still 90 laps to get to the checkered flag. It's Zacharias from New York, Hirshman from Pennsylvania in second, and then there's Ron Silk from Connecticut in third. Yellow flag coming out on the racetrack to slow this field once again for the second time, and a bad break for Chuck Hosfeld.
It has not been the week he's been looking for. Haasfeld in the 22 and big-time damage to the 71. Matt Montanari's car,
wow,
the Zacharias rides, slammed the outside wall.
That car looks like it's planted in the wall coming off of turn number 2. That right front crumbled on the 71 machine. Wow.
A couple of big-time crashes so far, but this one of the harder crashes we've seen this week, and you can see how hard it's crashed when you look at the left.
We got to fight. Trainer, somebody going after. Trainer, a kick. Not exactly sure who that is, but we know that's Kyle Trainer in the number 40, who has spun on a couple of occasions here today. Had some difficulty. Jeremy Gerstner.
There you go. Gerstner's car stopped up along the outside retaining wall. And that's who's walking back to the race car, as he was definitely not happy with Trainer.
Gerstner, the champion of the Southern Modified Racing Series 1 year ago. Had a great season, nice and consistent, along with a victory. And there is Ryan Preece on pit road. That car, that brand new machine, continues to have some mechanical gremlins. And you can see the team working on the dash there in the cockpit of Ryan Preece's number 6. You can see him shaking his head. Just on disbelief.
Mechanical failures this week has really cost Preece. Couple nights, rear end with suspension components I think he was experimenting with, trying to make the car better. And tonight, totally different issue, electrical on the 6.
It's been quite the week for Ryan Preece. Remember, it all began actually Saturday at Bronson Speedway, just about an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes or so from here, I believe. Maybe a little bit more than that, because it's a little bit past Ocala. But Ryan Preece in practice, and we actually had the video, courtesy of a nice gentleman there that sent it to us. And you barely saw it, but he hit the Jersey barrier and caught the right front tire and launched himself out of the ballpark at Bronson on Saturday before coming over here. Destroyed his race car there.
And Ricky Brooks has gone over to talk to Jeremy Gerstner and says, you come take a ride with me. I think it has to do with the extracurricular that took place. And you see that 70 car is badly damaged as well.
It was definitely a punch and a kick. So he got 2 shots in there on Kyle Trainer. So under red flag conditions for the second time here at New Smyrna Speedway tonight for the Tour Type Modifieds and the opening 10 laps of this 100-lap race. We'll be right back. A lot of extracurricular activity going on at New Smyrna Speedway right now. The man you see sitting right there is Jeremy Gerstner, lead tech director for the World Series event here at New Smyrna Speedway. Ricky Brooks, you saw it on our Fans Choice TV broadcast while we were in break, and he drove him to the start-finish line where you can access the grandstands, and he said because of that extracurricular activity in which he threw a punch and at least a kick at Kyle Trainer, who was in the cockpit of his number 40 machine. He kicked him off the racetrack. There's Trainer's number 40 car, stopped on the racetrack, and Gerstner, not all too happy with whatever shook down on the racetrack. Gerstner's like, what are you doing? And Ricky Brooks said, head out into the grandstands. So now Jeremy Gerstner's got a good seat for the rest of the race, but not the place he wanted to be.
The timeout box here, just like hockey.
Brand new.
Yes.
I've never seen this before.
I haven't either.
You never know what you're going to see when we go to the racetrack. And then just moments ago, we heard a big boom on the tower here of New Smyrna Speedway. And we actually had sprinkles of stuff coming from the ceiling because it was such a hard bash. and we found out, and we had a report that up there, that's where the spotters are. And we understand there was just some extracurricular activity up there as well.
Grandstands full. Watching tonight's Richie Evans Memorial 100. There's the Trainer 40 heading to pit road. You can see the damage to the right front of that car. At the very least, a bent wheel. And the wheel is definitely bent.
Yeah, it definitely is. I'm not sure if some front-end suspension is broken there as well. But they'll take a look at that car as we continue to be under red flag conditions. The man, by the way, at the right front is Kenny Berry, former racer. Let's go down to Rob Blount.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. I'm in Ryan Priest's pit. As you guys said, it's just been a variety of issues for the 6NY this week, starting with Saturday at Bronson Speedway. This time, it was the master power switch, as Father Jeff told me while we were in break. He changed that. Now they say everything's all good, everything's tight again, and they should be just fine once he rolls back out.
Wow. Some drama. We've certainly had it here, and we still have 90 laps to go. There's Ricky Brooks, by the way.
We've lost a few of our very fast race cars.
Yeah.
Or at least they've had some issues. A guy like Ryan Priest, as Gerstner continues to explain to fans.
To anybody that comes by and wants to talk about it. Yep. We're going to invite him to the booth, but we didn't think that'd be a good idea.
Let him cool down a little bit first.
Yeah, absolutely. You can tell the frustration for Jeremy Gerstner. Some sort of incident on the backstretch. It was a lot further back in the field than we were watching at that time. And 4 cars, from what I count, involved in that one. And one of the top competitors, the man that started near the front of the field, Chuck Hosfeld, was registered to start 4th. He started on the front row because Erik Geudael had some electrical gremlins. So, unfortunately, Chuck Hosfeld is out of tonight's show.
You know, Gerstner had moved from 21st, where he started, up to the 14th position. So he had found himself around mid-pack, and I'm sure he was getting involved in some battles as he was moving forward, and obviously felt that the 40 had done him wrong. The 54 of Catalano back to pit road, and there's another one of the cars on the back of the tow truck heading to the infield, as that one is the Montanari 71X machine. Bob Dillner and Adam Mackey here on our FansChoice.tv broadcast of the Richie Evans Memorial 100, also honoring tonight Teddy Christopher. And now he's found a seat in the stands.
And he's got somebody sitting next to him, too. So he's got somebody to converse with and tell some stories to. And
they brought him a bottle of water.
That's very polite. I think that was one of the NASCAR officials, actually, that just brought him that bottle of water. So they're trying to take care of Jeremy Gerstner. And let's see if he eats one of this guy's fries. If he was good, he'd just steal one right now. Absolutely.
You know, Gerstner's really had a good 2017 last year, winning a championship in his modified, and a driver that's run here at the World Series for a long time as well, and we've seen him compete in Pro Late models as well as Tour modifieds and other divisions.
Tell us what you think on Twitter right now about what you saw. It was definitely interesting, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. Fans Choice TV and the hashtag NSS World Series. Join in on the conversation. My handle is at Bob Dillner. Twitterless, Adam Mackey with us in the booth. Someday, some way, we're going to get you on Twitter.
When I heard that you could actually use Twitter to kind of pick on Rob Blount, it made me think to go ahead and pick up a Twitter handle, but I've passed so far. I've never been unfollowed, Bob.
That's a good thing. I have been. And I've unfollowed people, so... and maybe even blocked a person or two over my time. Ronnie Williams near the front of the field, having a good run of the 2 car. There's Ryan Preece about to pull off a pit road after his team had to change something inside the cockpit of that race car with the electrical nature on that car.
Cleanup still ongoing, but getting close. As there's the Emmerling 07. They're checking out the front end of this race car again. He took a hit during practice as well, so he's had a tough day. Came out of turn 2 earlier on. Car was stopped on the racetrack. It was the Montanari machine, actually, and tried to avoid it, and I think just clipped it with his left front tire and bent the rim. Don't think it did much as far as suspension damage goes, but it's been a tough day for Emmerling.
Back under yellow flag conditions now, the cars will begin to roll. And just to clarify something for the people that are watching on Fans Choice TV, a couple of you have asked for replays of this incident to find out what happened. It basically shook down just outside of our camera range. We had cameras on the leaders and cameras on the battle for 5th. And unfortunately, this happened around that 14th spot where Jeremy Gerstner was running. So it was just out of the range of our cameras at that time because we are trying to show you some of the best battles on the racetrack whenever we can. And we hope you're enjoying all this. I know some people that are stuck in the snow and the poor cold weather. This gives them the opportunity to feel like they are part of something special, this tradition that is continuing for the 52nd year here at New Smyrna Speedway. Back down to Rob Blount.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. As you said, Patrick Emmerling's back down on pit road. I asked the crew what's going on. They said they just wanted to check the tow over once again, make sure everything's good. During that last green flag run, they said it was all good, but may as well check it again as we're only 10 laps in. They still got plenty of time to get this thing right and still maybe have a shot at the championship.
So Patrick Emmerling, knowing that this race is early on with just 1/10 of it complete, 10 laps in and 90 to go, and he's got a chance to get that car right, make sure that it's right to give him the best chance. Of course, pit stops coming up a little later in this event as well. As there's Hirshman in the 60, a winner this week in the John Blewett III Memorial, currently running right there in the number 1 spot.
Ron Silk has gone from some disappointment earlier in the week to a good car here as of late. He rides there up near the front of this field, and I'm trying to sort some things out here right now, trying to find out where Jimmy Zacharias is.
And Zacharias is actually riding around at the back of the field. He was the leader when the yellow and then subsequent red came out, so problems for Zacharias in the 71, it looks like, as he is riding around at the back of the pack. So we've got the 60 of Hirshman has now taken over the lead. 33 of Ron Silk is running in second. And the 2 car of Williams running in third. 16 of Salah Mito in fourth, and the 179 of Blewett rounding out the top 5.
So we're told by the staff at Speed51.com that he actually came down pit road and had to do something to that race car. We are efforting that information to find out exactly what happened with Jimmy Zacharias, who was out at front of this field prior to this incident.
It's crazy how things have shiven down. Look back in the 6th spot. Carroll in the 25 has moved up to 6th.
Having a great run. We'll take a look at real quickly what happened as Jeremy Gerstner, and he gets more of a slap there as he tries to take down the window net for Kyle Trainer. He gets one shot in there right there, and then here comes the kick. Gerstner not happy at all with Kyle Trainer.
MMA taking place on the back straightaway.
Absolutely. And we are told by Rob Blount a right front wheel was loose on the Jimmy Zacharias mount.
Oh, better that they find it now and go to the tail and restart and try to rally than what would have happened had they gone under a long green flag run.
Misfortune and a fortunate break possibly for Jimmy Zacharias because he still has 90 laps to try to march his way through this field. It's a tough field. But I believe that you'll see that number 71 car steadily pick off some spots.
It's crazy how things have cycled around this early in the race with so many good race cars having issues. We've obviously lost Geudael. Chuck Hosfeld's had problems with a crash. Jimmy Zacharias recently going to the pits. Ryan Preece has had the mechanical issues. Craig Lutz has been involved in a crash. Emmerling has had problems. Austin Pickens. That's a lot of guys that have made the invert tonight that have all had to make at least a pit stop or are out of the race. So it's giving the opportunity for a guy like the 25 of Calvin Carroll a young driver that started 15th, already up to 6th. With all of the problems that some of our front runners have had in the first 10 laps of this race. Still waving the yellow is our chief starter. Moments away from a restart, a couple laps from now.
So on the front row for this one, on this restart, it'll be Matt Hirshman and Ron Silk in the 33. Timmy Salamito on the outside of row number 2 with Ronnie Williams. That third row occupied by Jimmy Blewett in the 179 and Calvin Carroll in the red 25.
This is not the final night of action at the World Series here at New Smyrna Speedway. That comes up tomorrow night, 7:30 race time. Sportsmen back in action, as well as the Florida Modifieds and Pro Late models, each running 35 laps in the big show. One of the most exciting divisions of the week, and some of the best racing has come from the Super Late models, and tomorrow night they go 100 laps to finish off the World Series.
People watching from all over the place, upstate New York, Darrell Canfield, Dwayne Canfield, their families, John Levesque, actually, I believe he's here in Florida, watching on Fans Choice TV tonight. He's over in the NASCAR garage area each and every day at Daytona International Speedway. So keep sending those tweets to us and show us some pictures of how you, your family, your friends, whatever, are actually watching this broadcast here tonight. Let's go down to Rob Blount once more. Rob?
Yeah, Bob, I caught up with fourth place runner Timmy Salamito's crew chief, Sly Sabin. I said, Sly, you guys just saving tires right now? He said, absolutely. I followed up with, when's go time? When do you decide when to go? He looked at me with a bit of a smile and said, we don't really know yet.
That's a lie. He knows. He just doesn't want to give away his game plan because he knows it's live on TV here tonight. But I would figure around that 20 to go. If he's riding in that top 3, he's going to go Sly. It's a perfect name for him. He's always been very sly, former crew chief for Mike Stefanik. And Mike, certainly one of the best that has ever driven one of these 600 horsepower race cars. And we miss the fact that we don't see Mighty Mike out here anymore, but I get to talk to him, and I know he's enjoying retired life in terms of driving. I think he built his own plane and is flying it up there out of Rhode Island now.
Likes going fast.
He does, indeed. So many good race car drivers that have come out of here, including 2 Hall of Famers now. Jerry Cook, the 6-time national modified champion. Richie Evans, a 9-time. I grew up, honestly, on Long Island. And my heroes were certainly Charlie Jerzombeck, Fred Harback, the Flying Dutchman. One to go until we go green, but I grew up in a 1/5 of a mile oval until it closed in 1985. Islip Speedway, High Bank, 1/5 of a mile oval. That was just spectacular.
Had to be. Fast racing, tight quarters. Probably saw a few move the leader over to take a win on the last lap, I would guess.
Oh, yeah. Except for if you were gentleman Jim Hendrickson. He would never use the bumper. He was a class act in that X3 car, and I saw some great machines and pictures out here in the Classic Modified Meetup, held each Friday, the second Friday of each World Series at New Smyrna.
Green flag is back out. Not a good restart for Silk. Still trying to get up to speed. Salamito has gone around him, and Hirshman back out front.
So Salamito needs to just chill out a little bit, save those tires just a little bit more. He and Hirshman just ride at the front of this field. But beyond that, the battle still ensues. You can see 2 wide racing right there. Calvin Carroll, how about that? The number 25 car trying to come to the front of the field. He is battling for 4th, and there he is with Ronnie Williams in the 2.
Carroll on the outside lane, Williams on the inside. By far the best run of the week so far for the 25, picking up 9 spots before that restart, moving up even more.
Kudos to Tyler Ripkema. Love that last name. Said it time and time again. 2 incidents, major damage to that car. 3 wide racing action. Ron Silk got a little bit sideways. Carroll way up the racetrack, and Silk gathers it back up. But the big benefactor, Jimmy Blewett.
Hey, that was a save by Silk. Williams still off the pace. Maybe has an issue. We'll see if he's able to get the tires cleaned off and continue on. He's lost several spots. Up front, there's Hirshman. Hirshman and the 16 of Salamito. Action all over the track. We don't know where to look.
Oh, look at Ron Silk now charging hard, trying to get back by Jimmy Blewett with that borrowed engine underneath the hood of that John Jensen 179.
Blewett has been very good, especially after the engine change. Using that Tommy Baldwin Racing engine in the 179 was Silk, gathering himself, and that was a whale of a save. One of the best of the week we've seen from anyone middle of the backstretch for the 33.
Ronnie Silk, 5 times a winner here in World Series action in tour-type modifieds. Here he comes to the inside of Jimmy Blewett. Blewett always good here as well at this racetrack. 4 times a winner here in the World Series in the tour-type modifieds.
Both former winners of the Richie Evans Memorial Race, and they're side-by-side, wheel-to-wheel in turn 2, and Silk pulls ahead. Silk moving to 3rd.
And Jimmy Blewett, a smart move by him at this juncture as well. There's no need to run side-by-side, honestly. We like to see it, but these drivers still have a long way to go. Just 17 laps in the books.
Side-by-side, look at the 6 of Priest. He's making some big moves right now. He has picked off a number of competitors up into the top 10. He's closing in on the top 5, and that's after a pit stop.
It looks like a video game right now for Ryan Priest. That's how good that 6 machine is.
It looks like he's got the level set to easy.
Yeah, absolutely. He got by Ripkema in the 32. Carroll was there as well. Willis. So he is just steadily picking them off. And speaking of Willis, he comes to the bottom side of the 32 of Ripkema.
I saw them kick something up the track. I don't know that was just marbles off the tires, but it was a pretty big piece of something that went up and hit the wall.
It's off the racetrack now. But it was certainly in the groove. I saw the same thing myself. Back up at front. Hirshman over Salamito. Silk rides in 3rd and is catching the top pair on the racetrack. Blewett in 4th. Kyle Erbusol, who we haven't shown too much, riding 5th.
Ebersol had to run a runner-up finish on opening night as the field
trouble
and another crash, and Emmerling is involved.
Catalano there as well. Emmerling trying to diagnose the damage on that race car. His championship hopes going away here tonight. Major damage to the right rear of Patrick Emmerling's 07.
And when these sturdy frames and Nerf bars get pushed against tires, it's not good. Not easy to get them back into place.
A rash of cautions so far. I believe it's 4 overall with 2 red flags as well. We are losing cars here early in this one. Just 20 laps into this 100-lap race. Now we'll get a good look right now at the right side of that car, and you can see the Nerf bar is actually up against that tire, and the Nerf bar is scraping right on the pavement here at New Smyrna Speedway on pit road.
Heavy damage on the Emmerling machine, and that car has been the fastest of any the last couple of nights.
Let's go down to Rob Blount.
Thanks, Bob. Championship contender Patrick Emmerling back on pit road, and he's got a lot more damage this time than he had before. The right rear is a lot worse than it was before. The right rear Nerf bar is up against the right rear tire. The right side Nerf bar is completely collapsed. It's dragging on the ground. They're trying to pry that back out, see what they can do with it. I saw the incident from pit road, guys. What happened was it looked like Tommy Catalano broke coming out of turn 4. And when he slowed, he actually made contact with his brother, Timmy. Timmy spun out and collected Patrick Emmerling, who shot right up into the outside wall in turn 1. They're trying to lift the right rear back up, trying to see if they can straighten that out. Looks like they're starting to check the toe once again on the front, but there's a lot of right side damage to this 07 of Patrick Emmerling.
And I see the Sawzall out there as well. They're trying to cut off that Nerf bar to get it out from rubbing on the tire. The gentleman in the shorts, by the way, that is Jan Leedy, who basically takes care of Patrick Emmerling's car as well as his son Mike's car up in the upstate New York Race of Champions Modified Series. But, man, bad break. Rob described the incident down there in turns 1 and 2. And Emmerling, we thought, was a real challenger for the Richie Evans Memorial win.
We had to make our picks yesterday.
Who'd you pick?
Hirshman.
Yeah, you went the easy route.
But that was early yesterday. And after last night's race, I was thinking, man, I probably should have taken Emmerling. And I think a lot of people thought that. His car has been so good the last 2 days. And just bad luck tonight.
Patrick Haase out of Ohio has been watching tonight. And he knew my pick was Craig Lutz and has been picking on me on Twitter just a little bit about that pick.
That wasn't a bad pick.
No, it wasn't.
He's been very good lately
Absolutely,
as well.
Absolutely. But take a look at that Nerf bar. It's cut off the right side of the Emmerling 07.
Hirshman, the 60, leading. Salamito, second in the 16. Silk in the 33, third. 79. 179 of Blewett running in fourth, and Ebersol rounding out the top five as he looks to bookend his week with strong finishes. The runner-up on opening night, and right now running in the top five. Early in this race yet, just 20 laps complete.
Sixth place is Ryan Preece. Mike Willis Jr. in the 83 is seventh. Tyler Ripkema in eighth. Calvin Carroll now back to ninth after really charging hard. Got involved in that mishap with Ronnie Silk up off of turn number 2 on the last restart. Jimmy Zacharias has now moved from the back of the field up to 10th as Patrick Emmerling tries to rejoin the rear of the field.
Hopefully they have enough clearance on that right rear back behind the tire. Doesn't look like it's rubbing right now, but they cut the whole side work off. He's going to give her another go.
Speaking of giving her another go, here we go. Going green flag racing once again. Hirshman fires a little bit early out of the box, but the green flag flies once again here at New Smyrna.
Back underway, 20 laps complete. Hirshman out front. Mito trying to hold off the 179 of Blewett. Blewett, a strong run on the outside lane. Preece has really sliced through the field after a pit stop to get back into the top five.
Preece is a rocket ship with that number 6 car right now. Blewett and Mito possibly holding him up, but you got to wonder, is he going to wear out his tires charging this hard this early in this race?
I think he did it in so few laps. Now will be the true test of whether he just kind of rides for a while or whether he tries to go overtake the first 3 there and Hirshman for the lead.
Jimmy Blewett in the 179 on the outside of Mito. Jimmy told me, man, this is one race he wants to win again. He knows that Richie Evans was simply the man, the king of modified racing. And this is truly an honor for anybody who graces victory lane in this race to grab that trophy as a Richie Evans Memorial winner.
It's been over 10 years since he went back-to-back for Richie Evans Memorial wins, but when you look at the list of drivers, and we had it up on our screen earlier when the broadcast started, just a crazy field of competitors have won, and there's some debris bringing out the yellow.
Zacharias ran it over several drivers. Willis as well in the 83. That's off of Emmerling's race car. So he got into a mishap on the prior caution. I think we're up to maybe 5 or 6 cautions right now early in this race. 23 laps complete. So Emmerling's machine basically...
piece by piece.
Yeah, it's shredding basically on the racetrack.
Have a lot of work after this event to put it back together, and that's if nothing else happens. As we've singled the field down now with 23 laps in. Hirshman has controlled a good number of laps now since the previous yellow, but Jimmy Blewett, Ryan Preece up to third in the 6th. I think he's the story right now. Preece, the way he's rallied back through the pack.
Absolutely. And Jeremy Gerstner still enjoying the modified race out here as a spectator after getting the boot by lead tech director Ricky Brooks after an altercation in which a punch was thrown and a kick as well with Kyle Trainer on the backstretch early in this event. Say early, we're still early in this race.
Yeah, this is already seen, I think, about the most yellows we've seen in a Tour Modified race this week.
By the way, an interesting note, Kendra Adams just pointed out to me, and I was told by Connor Sullivan earlier today, they're on the Trackside Now coverage for Speed51.com. The interesting thing is the fact that Emmerling's race car is not the same one he won with one night ago, which to me is a little bit unusual. But the team telling Speed51 that car he won with one night ago was a good short run car. Just quick dash, 35 laps. He thought this was a special piece, a better long-run car, and we have 100 laps the distance tonight.
Be nice to have a couple cars like that in your arsenal.
Yes, absolutely. Put your hands in there. See that? I'm waving to you. Live on Fans Choice TV tonight from New Smyrna Speedway.
Little photo bomb.
You might as well have fun. This has been a long one early in this race. The race that every modified fan looks forward to during Florida Speed Weeks. Remember, the big race, the Daytona 500, just 2 days away, live on Fox on Sunday. But tonight, the mighty modified shine here in the shadows of Daytona.
Back to green, a pretty good start on the inside lane that time for the 179 of Blewett. He inches forward, Hirshman fights back, Blewett up the banking in turn 2.
A lot of history between the Blewetts and the Hirshmans. Both of those drivers, second-generation racers. Blewett out of New Jersey, right at the top of this field. Pennsylvania's Matt Hirshman in second, but being threatened by the former NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour champion Ryan Preece.
6 car is very good right now. As now we look to the lower left to battle a little further back. Not real far. 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. All in action. The 71 of Zacharias has rallied nicely as well.
Our cameramen doing a great job here. Connor Sullivan, Rob Blount, Jeff Fisher, and Jeff Christensen. Look at Hirshman. What a power move to the inside, taking the top spot back in that PD Motorsports number 60.
Notice on the last restart, Hirshman didn't fire way before the box. Was probably told that was a little early, but he waited till the box this time, and Blewett was able to get the advantage on the start. But again, Hirshman wanted to lead, so he's back out front with Blewett and Preece following closely.
There's Chuck Hosfeld. Good to see he's back out in the racetrack in the 07 of Patrick Emmerling. Second in points to Hirshman. 1 point separated the duo. There's Hirshman on the bottom left part of your screen. The point leader by 1 point over Emmerling. He leads. Emmerling scored in the 13th spot currently.
Taking a look for 12th. Looking low on Catalano in the 45. Timmy Catalano, not a lot of Tour Modified driving experience.
No, not at all, really. I mean, very few starts. Has run some Sportsman Modifieds in the upstate New York region.
He's showing some speed.
He is, indeed. And the Catalanos are just racers. You take a look, and Tommy Catalano ran Modifieds, finished 4th in the Race of Champions Trail last year, won street stock races, late model races, you name it, he won it up there in the western part of the Northeast.
Basically, the full field right now is nose to tail. No one's really broken away. No one's really dropped off. I mean, it's pretty well nose to tail, at least for the top 10, maybe even a little further back as you see Preece running in 3rd, 4th right there, Silk, 5th, Salah, Mito.
You can see where your favorite driver is running with the ticker at the top of the screen. Now 31 laps into this contest. Salah Mito saving his tires, says his crew chief. Riding in 5th, Ron Silk. He started up front, has faded just a little bit, now back to 4th. Nice shot there.
Oh, the sound and feel of these modifieds rolling down the front straightaway. Ground pounders.
You gotta love them. This is what I grew up with in the Northeast. My mom and dad took me to racetracks each and every weekend. Went to Stafford on Friday nights. Usually Islip and Riverhead on Saturdays, but sometimes we ventured up to Riverside Park Speedway. Sometimes the twilight shows at Thompson on Sundays.
The fans so lucky here at New Smyrna for the World Series to get to see these cars and see strong fields of these cars. Last couple of years, it's really rebounded well. You know, there were a few years there we were seeing starting fields of 12, 13, 14 cars out on the racetrack, and now you've got that many that can win, let alone the rest of the field. It's amazing.
Here's what's really interesting. If you look at the modified genre up in the Northeast, there are several different groups that really have a lot of pride. I've talked about the Long Island gang. This group right here of Hirshman and Blewett, out of that Pennsylvania, upstate New York, New Jersey realm. You kind of put all those back together. Both of these guys have been to Victory Lane at the Turkey Derby, that famed race on Thanksgiving weekend at Wall Township Speedway in New Jersey. And then you have the southern tier New Englanders, and then the northern New Englanders out of Claremont and New Hampshire, and that whole area. So a lot of different groups of race car drivers make up the modified contingent in the Northeast.
We see 1st and 2nd, upper right of the screen, Hirshman and Blewett. 3rd and 4th, lower left of the screen, Preece in the 6th. Maybe just riding now as he's dropped in line. He's found himself in a podium spot, and he's got everyone right around him that he'll be competing against for this win at the end of the 100 tonight.
There is Ryan Preece and Ron Silk, just content right now. Like you said, riding in 3rd and 4th. 5th place is Salah Mito. We continue to see his car. He hasn't lost any ground. By the way, Erik Geudael, got to be a disappointing night for him. Supposed to start on the outside of their front row, switch from the Spafco to the Troyer, found some speed because he wasn't used to the Spafco yet, but electrical gremlins got him at the start of the field.
has now gone his first lap down. Just one lap off the pace is Geudael.
6th is Tyler Ripkema. 7th now, Jimmy Zacharias climbing through this field. Calvin Carroll in 8th, Mike Willis in 9th, and Kyle Ebersol has slipped a little bit here and dropped to 10th.
We watched Emmerling. He's made his way up to 12th, but he's kind of stalled out there as it's the 71 of Zacharias, followed by Carroll and Willis.
Carroll, the 17-year-old. He's got the big New Jersey on the side of his race car. Willis, top 10 in Modified Racing Series points last year. And there's all forms of modified racing in the Northeast. And you got, honestly, the big buck world of the NASCAR Wheel of Modified Tour. That is the biggest of them all. The Race of Champions Modified Series, the history, the tradition there, running in the Pennsylvania and the upstate New York portion. And then you have the Modified Racing Series, which a guy like Willis, it's a little bit of a series for lower funded race teams. Some tire rules and so forth intact there. You had a couple of other tours that apparently have not materialized in the form of their schedules this year and will not be running in 2018. But another one, very strong, the Tri-Track Series in the Northeast, with some big money on the line for just a few races throughout the season.
Plenty of options when it comes to tour-type modifieds. Plenty of places to race up in the Northeast, and obviously always fun to have them here in Florida during the month of February.
Ryan Preece has won at a lot of these racetracks. We mentioned that Wheel of Modified Tour Championship just a couple of years ago. 20 times a winner on the NASCAR Wheel of Modified Tour. Watch his shot. The speed of 600 horsepower. Big 15-inch tires. Low-slung cars. These things are wild to look at. I remember watching Richard Petty on the top of the hauler one day, and we basically asked him, "Would you ride one of these?" He goes, "Oh, no way." These are for only the bravest men in motorsports.
Top 2, Hirshman and Blewett. Haasfeld in the 22. Out on the racetrack running.
Jeff Gallup in the number 4 machine. That's a Spafco car. Second place in the Modified Racing Series 1 year ago. And I mentioned earlier in the broadcast that 4 car, the son of Richie Gallup. Watch Richie, Stafford, Thompson, you name it. Here comes Ryan Preece now, attacking Jimmy Blewett for second.
Preece deciding to step it up a notch.
Trouble for Ebersol on the front straightaway. That car sideways.
He and Willis,
wow,
both nearly wrecked. Another big save as the battle for second continues. Here's Preece to the inside of Blewett, takes the spot away.
Not much of a battle at all.
No.
Basically about maybe 200-300 feet on the racetrack, and Ryan Preece disposes of the 179 of Jimmy Blewett.
Maybe deciding it's time to step it up a little bit. He could see the leader, Matt Hirshman, getting away, so he decides to dispose of the 179, and he's falling back a little bit.
How about Ryan Preece, though? We knew the kid was a wheelman. Last year, had an opportunity with Joe Gibbs Racing, just a few races. Winds up going to victory lane in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and that has parlayed him into a little bit more of a deal with Joe Gibbs Racing, and he's able to run again part-time in the Xfinity Series this year.
But he's put all of his eggs in that basket as far as running some races with a team that you can compete and win with, rather than running maybe the full season in a team that maybe wouldn't be up there in the top 5 or 10.
He's the only guy that's really disrupted Doug Coby's streak up in the Northeast in terms of the NASCAR Wheel of Modified Tour. We'd love to see Doug Coby down here running at the World Series at some point. A 5-time champion now is Doug Coby in the NASCAR Wheel of Modified Tour.
Lower left, the lead duo, and Preece has closed the gap down to a car length. You see 3rd and 4th in the upper right.
Preece is marching hard, but you got a question of whether or not those tires are going to go away on that number 6 Troyer machine at some point. A fellow Troyer racer just in front of him. The Hirshmans have been part of the Troyer family for a very long time. In fact, his dad, Tony, bought one of Maynard Troyer's last race cars of his career, and went on to win some great races in that Frenchie's number 6.
See the lanes changing a little bit. I saw Hirshman the last lap or so. He's really taken a high exit just like that coming off it, too. It doesn't look like a comfortable lane to run, but he's still turning some pretty good lap times. But he's doing everything he can, searching for a way to hold off the 6 of Priest, but I don't know that he can find it. Priest is outstanding right now.
It looks like the difference between this duo is that Priest's car cuts in the center of the corner, and it looks like Hirshman, it doesn't quite turn right when he gets to the center. That car rides high just a little bit. There you see it right there. But Hirshman able to keep the top spot, at least for now, 59 laps into this 100-lap race.
Both of these drivers with 2 Richie Evans Memorial 100 victories here at New Smyrna Speedway, and right now I would say they're the odds-on favorites, and I think they're probably 2 of the most picked drivers when you come into a race like this because of their success right here.
There is Ron Silk in 4th. Salah Mito in the 5th spot. By the way, you mentioned Hirshman and Priest. As we continue to look at them going around some slower traffic, they've won together the last 3 of these Richie Evans Memorial races. The defending champion, Matt Hirshman, the 2 years prior, back-to-back wins for Ryan Priest.
Despite running that 3rd groove coming off of turn 2, the 60 still putting down some good laps and keeping the 6 at bay. It's really the first time we've seen a driver go that high on the exit of the corner, and I think you mentioned maybe the car not cutting as well as the 6 of Priest. He's making the most of it, though.
Patrick Ermeling back up to 10th. Jimmy Zacharias, we just saw a glimpse of him right behind that race car. He has fallen outside the top 10, running with Chuck Haasfeld. In fact, Haasfeld takes the 11th spot over Jimmy Zacharias the last time by.
And Geudael continues to struggle in the 58. You know, it obviously isn't on all cylinders, or it's developed some sort of a miss because he's gone down a couple of laps. It is running, but just not up to speed.
Yeah, electrical gremlins can certainly grab a hold of you in a hurry and make your day miserable. Ron Silk has had a couple of miserable days down here as well. Mechanical failure on that 33 twice this week. But the last 2 nights have been pretty good for him. The yellow flag and lights back on around this racetrack here at New Smyrna Speedway.
Yellow is out, 64 into the 100, looking around the racetrack, not really noticing anything, and we're kind of within that window as well of the competition. Yellow, it was 40 laps and anywhere within the next 15, and our last yellow flag, our last slowdown came in the early 20s, so it makes sense that we have a yellow flag when the cars were all single file. Didn't really affect a battle on the racetrack.
There you go, the controlled caution coming into play here, and after a rash of cautions early, we see a long green flag run. And now we'll see if any of these teams come down pit road to make any adjustments in the Richie Evans Memorial.
One car you saw there didn't really matter, a car that's not on the lead lap, Erik Geudael, as they work on that ride, a couple of laps off the pace with 64 laps complete. Driver a couple laps down is Geudael, one of the drivers that qualified pretty well, was scheduled to start outside of row 1, just couldn't get the mechanical issues solved.
A lot of people from the Northeast tuning in to Florida here tonight out of Woodstock, Connecticut. Looks like Ryan Priest is going to be making his way down pit road. The pit sign out for him. Is that? Yes, indeed it is. So here come a barrage of cars on pit road. Ryan Priest in the 6th, the 60 of the leader, Hirshman, Jimmy Blewett. Oh, I think there's only 1 car staying out, maybe 2. I see Jeff Gallup in the 4 actually staying out on the racetrack, but everybody else on pit road.
Hirshman crew working on the right side right there as we send it down to Rob Blount.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. The Hirshman crew going to work. They've put a new right rear tire and actually right side tires on front and back on the 60. It looks like the same thing, as well as fuel for the 6 of Ryan Priest, as well as the 16 of Timmy Salamito. The whole field on pit road here. Now it's going to be a race to see who comes down first. Timmy Salamito's car is already off the jacks, but they're still putting some fuel back into that car. The 6 of Ryan Priest is still up on the jacks. Now they put it back down. They're going to back him up because he can't get out from behind the 16 of Timmy Salamito. Now he's down and away and rolling, as is Timmy Salamito. Matt Hirshman, however, still in his pit box, and now he rolls off.
Well, here's the note of interest that we really haven't touched on. On this controlled caution, basically, these teams have 3 laps without losing a lap that they can work on their cars in the pit area. And they also don't lose position. So when they're working on these race cars, they can take some time. You can see Casey LaJoy, one of our cameramen, getting down there to get in position for another good shot. There's Jimmy Blewett's machine. This is okay that they're on pit road for a while because they have these 3 laps, make those changes, adjust the race car, and then when they go back out on the racetrack with a controlled caution like we see right here, they'll go back in line where they were before the caution flew.
The only positions that they would lose would be if anyone stayed out onto the racetrack, and the ones that did stay out the first time by did eventually come to the pits. They eventually made pit stops. When you mentioned you saw a couple stay out, they came in the next time around.
There you go. So everybody racing pit road here past the halfway mark. Just over 30 laps to go in this race. There's the Willis number 83 machine. A few adjustments on that race car. Good shot right there of the coilover shock assembly on the right front of the race car. These cars are simple but intricate at the same time.
That they are, and we're down now to just about a normal distance feature that we've been running during the course of the week. 36 laps left in this race, and it's going to be wild.
By the way, you can't do this because you're not on Twitter, but we like to check out the Twitter feed, and we thank you, Michael, for watching from a balmy 25 degrees in Rochester, New York. A lot of people just having fun all over the place, and Dwayne Canfield chiming in as well. By the way, he says Twitterless Adamaki is the man, but he wants you on Twitter. So you need to work on that for next year.
I didn't think I was allowed to be on social media during the race, but I guess that gives
this
me
is part of the job these days.
Out,
honestly,
right?
I work for MAV TV, and they had me at the Chili Bowl monitoring the feed and just talking about where everybody was watching from, and it was really interesting to see everybody just chiming in from all over the country as well as all over the globe. In fact, we have one from Calgary, Alberta right now. Dan Eddy watching here tonight. Really interesting to see all the social media interaction. And remember, you can use the hashtag NSS World Series, Fans Choice TV. That's the handle, at Bob Dillner. And just talk to me about Adamaki, and I'll relay the question.
I see, yes, there you go. Hirshman, Priest, Blewett, Silk, and Salamito are top 5 as they are getting everyone back in line the way that they came into the pits. And, of course, they do the control cautions. That way these guys don't have to go out and hire pit crews to come in and try to get the best pit stop. It kind of saves money, helps the budget for these guys, and I think that helps the car count in the long run.
Scott Tapley, who is a race director from the Northeast, watching here the broadcast tonight. Kelly Kent as well. Her boyfriend, actually, spotting for some of the cars up here during the week at New Smyrna Speedway. A big Ryan Priest guy is Mike Herman Jr.
1 to go signal this time, just 1 lap away from sending these cars back to green.
And you love some of the nuggets that some of these people give us. And Todd Smith pointed out, he said, hey, don't forget tonight's winner is guaranteed a spot in the Race of Champions 250 in September at Lake Erie Speedway. So a lot on the line, a lot of prestige, a little bit of a check, as well as a guaranteed spot in the Race of Champions 250.
Will Priest try to race out front now, or will we follow the Hirshman car as he had been doing the previous laps? Some contact from behind, wiggles the 6 of Priest up into the outside groove for a moment.
Blewett trying to push the Priest number 6 to the lead. He does. A little bit of a slide job there. Priest going right in front of Matt Hirshman. Hirshman didn't like him. He gave a shot going into 3.
And for Priest, I think he just had his hands full going into the first corner. Might have overdriven it into that first turn as the battle is now for second. Blewett on the inside lane. More contact.
Getting a little tough out here. The battle for second. These guys have been rivals for a very long time. Matt Hirshman alongside of Jimmy Blewett. Blewett takes him up in the wild blue yonder in turns 3 and 4.
Blewett into the second spot. Hirshman back to third. He has led numerous laps in this race, has been out front for much of it. He doesn't want to be in third. He wants to take second back, drops back under the 179 of Blewett.
Tried the crossover move, couldn't get it to work. Look at the side-by-side racing action further back in the field. But side-by-side right now, right behind the leader, Ryan Preece. Hirschman's got a very strong race car. I still believe he's saving the tires on that car for the end of the race.
Second and third. Preece has pulled away by a couple of car lengths, not by a lot, but Hirshman running there in the second spot, trying to track him down.
And look at who's creeping into this mix, having worked by Ron Silk, is Timmy Salamito. We were told by Rob Blount that team saving their tires, and now Timmy Salamito starting to pour it on just a little bit here as we close in on 30 laps to go.
Definitely strong at this juncture of the race. He pushes up the track, got down on the flat, and couldn't make the apex as he planned. It worked out for him, though, as he passes Blewett in much less time than it would have taken.
It worked out for him until Blewett gets into his back bumper. Knew that was coming. Showtime. Putting the bumper to Timmy Salamito to say, didn't like that move too much down there, pal. Don't do it again.
Salamito trying to get away at this point, much like we saw our pro late model race where they were trying to get away from Mike Skinner, so he didn't have to worry about battling him. But Salamito right now in the third spot. Blewett relegated to fourth, kind of came off of turn 4 a little high there.
Got to give a shout out to Calvin Carroll. He has battled his way back to 6th. So Carroll having a good showing here in the long distance race, the longest one of the week for the Tour Type Modifieds at New Smyrna. Preece still at the top of the heap.
See a lot of teenage drivers in our pro late model and super late model fields. You don't quite see that in these Tour Type Modifieds. You see a lot of veteran drivers and drivers that have been in this division for a long time, which actually helps build the fan count really nicely. But it's cool to see a couple of youngsters doing well.
17-year-old Carroll there holding off Ken Willis in the 83. Both of those drivers having among their best runs of the week. Willis had a 7th place run, which was his best of the week a couple of nights ago. So I believe that he's getting better and better with each lap that he turns on this racetrack. Here comes Emmerling, by the way. Emmerling up to 8th after having that incident, removing the nerve bar, and he's steadily charged his way back to the front.
Respectable run right now. I think the car has lost a little bit. He hasn't been able to race through the field as we saw Ryan Preece do after a pit stop earlier.
You know, you mentioned the young guns, like the teenager Carroll. You don't see that in modified racing. One of the youngest guns in this field, that we still call him one of those young up-and-coming race car drivers, is Ryan Preece. He's already 27 years old, but he's got so much talent. And the modified wars for years have been about the veterans battling some of the younger guys that try to cut their way into this. But it's a difficult field to cut into.
It is, and just out of my, I guess I could say, ignorance or not knowing the modifieds, how do they compare to a super late model in cost to compete on a weekly basis?
You know, honestly, the situation with these modifieds is they've gotten more and more expensive. They do have a spec engine that they run on the NASCAR Rilla Modified Tour, and to some degree that has saved money, but these engines and the car combination, just a little bit less expensive than a super late model. And when we're talking about a little bit less expensive, depending on the engine combination, a couple of years ago, the engines were getting out of hand. You were talking about $30,000, $40,000, and $50,000 for an engine, and this spec engine has kind of curtailed that a little bit, like it has in super late model racing. So they're within probably about $5,000 to $8,000, maybe $10,000 a piece difference.
Very similar.
Yeah.
See nose to tail competition right here. It's the aforementioned Calvin Carroll running in 6th, Willis running in 7th, Emmerling running in 8th, just outside the top 5.
Nice and steady are all these drivers, making sure they have enough tire to get to the end of this one now with 20 to go.
20 laps to go, and Preece leading the way. You see the battle continue. That's Ryan Preece in the 6th. Preece with 19 to go. There's Blewett and Silk. Blewett running in the 4th position. Silk running in 5th.
Silk making another run, but Blewett maybe used up some of the tires on that machine, fading back just a little bit, not able to keep pace with the guys in front of him. Silk goes to the bottom side of the racetrack in a battle for fourth on the track.
Silk pulls alongside, wheel to wheel, makes the pass work. Blewett's going to drop back to the inside, not going to have the speed he needs to pull back alongside Silk to battle for the position, and avoids any contact. Thought he was going to lay a little bumper to him there, but they come across the line, and the 33 of Silk has moved back up to fourth.
4 of the top 5 drivers have been to victory lane in the Richie Evans Memorial. The only guy that has not is Timmy Salamito, who doesn't have a win here at this racetrack yet. Competed down here last year, returning this year. There's Ebersol in the number 5, battling with Tyler Ripkema. That is a battle right now for 10th on the track.
Ebersol got down on the flat, almost put a couple tires in the grass coming off of turn 4, kicked him sideways. It helped the 32 of Ripkema hold him off, and then he closes the door on Haasfeld. Haasfeld, just the fact that he's out there running is a great story, because early in this race, his wheels weren't pointing in the same direction. They had to work on it on pit road.
15 to go, and almost trouble for Ryan Preece. Jeff Gallup, a slower car, gets in the mix there, slowing Ryan Preece up. Gallup went way up the racetrack to try to avoid that.
Gallup running outside the top 15, going down a lap to Preece, back to Ripkema, the battle there with the 32 car. And I think he'd be happy to get to the end of this race with a top 5 or top 10 finish. Right now, in line to do so with 14 to go. But Ebersol again challenges.
And Ebersol had a great showing earlier in the week, a second-place run on opening night, and now he's able to take that 10th spot from Ripkema in the 32.
Ebersol picks the position up. You see Geudael in the 58 car. Definitely not up to speed. It's the straightaway speed on that 58 that has cost him to go down a couple of laps. Still handling fairly well in the turns. Haasfeld now challenging Ripkema.
Ripkema has got his hands full with the wheel of that race car. A little bit sideways coming off of turn number 4 right there. And if he continues to do that, Chuck Haasfeld will capitalize on it. This next time by, it will be 10 circuits to go for Ryan Preece at the front of this field. Ryan Preece trying to win the Richie Evans Memorial for the 3rd time in 4 years. And there it is, the 10 to go signal.
It's come down to this, a couple of long green flag runs after a rough start to this race. It's Preece, it's Hirshman. 3 winners. The last 3 races have been won by that combination. They've won a total of 4 of these Richie Evans Memorials as we watch the battle continue back in the field, and that's because there's pretty good separation between that guy, the 6 of Preece, and the 60 of Hirshman.
I was going to say, you'll see in some of these camera shots the difference between your leader. But we look at Jimmy Zacharias trying to come back through the field as well, pulling to the back bumper of Patrick Emmerling. Emmerling scored in 8th. Here comes Zacharias to the inside. He steals the spot easily, and I think Emmerling knows with all that damage, he just let him go.
Yeah, Zacharias has had an up-and-down race, but he's back on the upside again. Moving up into the 8th position is Zacharias. Ryan Preece in the 6th. Right there, making his way through 1 and 2 in that car, about, 2 feet or so off the yellow line all the way through the corner. We watch it, and it just looks like it's on a rail right now.
Definitely the best machine that we've seen out here. He's been plagued with mechanical gremlins throughout the week. This is a brand new car. 1 month ago, sat in his shop as a bare chassis. He went to work and got this car together, and it looks sporty. Not only fast on the racetrack, but a good-looking machine as well. And there you see the gap between Preece and there's Catalano, and then the gap between he and Matt Hirshman. Hirshman not able to close it at all in the final laps of this race. Now 5 to go.
Gallup, who was up around the top 10 a while back, is down another lap as that car has really dropped off the pace. Ripkema, 12th position right now. Last car on the lead lap right ahead of Preece. Not for long.
Yeah, Ryan Preece, like you said, he's got it on easy mode tonight, playing a video game out there with all the other competitors.
Preece, that car hooked up using the same strategy pretty much as the other competitors tonight, except he had to make an early pit stop and pass so many cars to get back up into contention. He's earned it.
Timmy Salamito, good run for him, sitting in 3rd all by himself. A bunch of car lengths behind Matt Hirshman. In fact, it's quite the gap between the top pair and the 16 of Salamito, almost a straightaway.
Back to Preece. The driver in the 6 has been so strong the last 3 World Series, where he's won the Tour Type Modified Championships. He takes the white flag. He's down to less than a lap to go.
Ryan Preece missed practice here today, got here for qualifying. And now Ryan Preece, coming off of the 4th corner, will win for the 8th time in his career in modified competition at New Smyrna Speedway. And it's a big one. The Richie Evans Memorial win for the 3rd time in 4 years.
Hirshman, Salah, Mito, Ron Silk, and Jimmy Blewett rounding out the top 5. Saw Haase go flying by there in the 22, probably speeding to get to pit road so he can get this one behind him.
Yeah, I think he's looking to load that 22, get back to Rochester, New York, and head up there. Actually, he's from Ramsonville, New York. My apologies. Ryan Preece, the victor again. He wins the battle, but it'll be Matt Hirshman who wins the war as the champion of the Tour Type Modifieds by virtue of his 2nd place run tonight. I think Ryan Preece is going to be a happy fella down there in Victory Lane, his 2nd win of the week.
You'll see a smile, I believe.
Indeed. He'll take the helmet off. We're going to send it down to Rob Blount. We want to hear what Ryan Preece has to say and his celebration down there in Victory Lane. The modified finale here, the Richie Evans Memorial at New Smyrna Speedway, and Ryan Preece is the victor. Let's go down trackside to Rob Blount.
Thanks, Bob. Ryan Preece getting the Hoosier tire, neckband, and hat. He's a winner in the Richie Evans Memorial for the 3rd time in the last 4 years. It's his 2nd win this week as Ryan undoes the steering wheel. He's climbing out. Here's Ryan Preece, the winner for the 2nd time this week. Ryan, you guys have had some troubles all week long. How good does it feel to get your 2nd win this week?
Really good. I was a little nervous there with about 10 to go. The car really started to free up at a twitch, but apparently he must have been loosening up or tightening up too. But we had a really good race car. Really haven't had the best week here. We had to change a clutch earlier. We've had issues all week. And to win this race is a big deal because it's named after Teddy and it's named after Richie. Teddy was somebody I've raced with. He's never given me an inch, and he's pushed me to be the racer I am today. And to win this race down here where he used to come, this was his playground. So to win here for this 100-lapper with his name and Richie's name, it means a lot to me. And obviously I finished the race, so that's even better.
Guys, that's Ryan Preece. Oh, he's got more, Ryan.
Also, I want to say hello to my wife at home. I miss you, and I can't wait to see you when I get home.
Valentine's Day a couple days ago. Ryan Preece in Victory Lane here once again.
That is a smart man right there. Smart man, not only because he built this race car himself, he drove it to Victory Lane, but he thanks his wife in Victory Lane as well. And by the way, you might not have seen Danny Bone in tonight's starting field. He had some difficulty here, and he tweeted us, by the way, he was watching the end of the race just south of Charlotte on his way back home.
Wanted to see him run tonight.
Indeed.
He was very good this week, coming from deep in the pack up into the top 10 a couple of nights, and then involved in a crash last night on our front straightaway. They went to a backup car, couldn't get the car running the way they wanted to get on the racetrack tonight. Unfortunately, he didn't get to finish this week. He was up in the top 5 in points.
So many people watching. Chad Sims, Tim Nye, so many other people. Thanks for watching Fans Choice TV. Back to Rob.
Unofficially, Matt Hirshman gets to do something that no one in his family has done before. Your dad's won a lot of championships. You've won a lot of championships. Now you can add another one, the World Series of Asphalt Stock Car Racing here at New Smyrna. How does that feel for you tonight?
Yeah, we had a good week, and it's something I've always wanted to do. And all the times we've come down here, I've never really left here satisfied with the week we had. And I'm still a little disappointed in what we had. We had a good, solid week. We won a couple. We did some things that we never did before, checked some things off the list. But didn't have the times I needed to have the car. It would have been a lot more fun to race with Ryan for the win. And I don't know. I definitely... I need to do better. Just didn't have the focus on the things I needed to have, I think, to get it done and stay on top of it all week. I always say that the Turkey Derby is the hardest day of the year for racing, running the 2 classes we do there. But this is by far the hardest thing to do, the week-long racing here at New Smyrna. And it's an experience for sure. And like I said, I'm still probably not going to leave here quite satisfied.
You know you're a racer when you win a championship and you're still not truly satisfied. That's Matt Hirshman.
Matt Hirshman is the definition of a racer, as is Ryan Preece. I love these guys because they are hard-nosed racers. They love their modifieds. Of course, I'm very passionate about the modifieds as well, but they are just impressive. Matt Hirshman, the second-generation race car driver. His dad, a 5-time NASCAR Wheel Modified Tour champion, former Turkey Derby champion as well, and just a great family out of Mud Lane, Pennsylvania. Let's go back down to Rob Blount.
Timmy Salamito with a third-place run tonight. Timmy, when you and I spoke earlier, you said you'd just be happy with a top 5 run. How about a podium finish here tonight?
Yeah, really happy to come in with a podium finish tonight. Tonight we started building a notebook for this place, so we've kind of just been experimenting with a bunch of different stuff last year and this year, and everybody was just getting frustrated. And we went back to basics tonight and came home with a strong podium finish. Wish we would have started this deal on Tuesday. So we could fine-tune it, but just really proud of all these guys. They didn't give up all week. It was just a tough week. I haven't came down with something here. I'm not really feeling too good the last day or so, but, these guys didn't give up, and, just proud to be part of this deal. Excited to start the tour season again this year, and, I think if we started tuning on this Tuesday, we would have had something for these guys ahead of us, hopefully later on this week, but you live and you learn. Tonight we started a notebook, and excited to come back.
Even a little under the weather, Timmy Salamito gets a third-place run here tonight.
Hey, and this kid, if he comes back next year, he is a racer indeed as well. That Salamito family from Long Island, they are a bunch of racers. Here's the final results tonight. Preece, Hirshman, and Salamito, we just heard from them. Silk and Blewett in the top 5.
Good run for the 17-year-old Calvin Carroll in the 6th spot. Jimmy Zacharias, he passed a lot of cars tonight. Up and down night. Had to make a pit stop while leading early on. Finishes 7th. Mike Willis Jr., good run in 8th. Emmerling struggled with that car after a couple of incidents that he was caught up in. Finishes 9th, and Ebersol finds out the top 10.
It's been a frustrating week for Chuck Hosfeld, but he finishes in 11th here tonight. Tyler Ripkema in the 12th spot. He had crashed a couple of times, so not the run he wanted for sure, but still he's able to finish the Richie Evans Memorial. Amy Catalano, we're going to hear a lot about her on Speed51.com in the coming weeks. Timmy Catalano and Kyle Trainer, not only did he finish 15th, but he also got a kick and a punch by virtue of Jeremy Gerstner earlier in the race.
Joe DeGracia finishes 16th. Jeff Gallup 17th. Erik Geudael struggled tonight, but he stayed out there. He wouldn't quit with definitely some mechanical issues. Finishes 18th. Nicky Carroll and Tommy Catalano, the top 20.
Ronnie Williams, saw him disappear with some trouble on that Bertuccio own number 2. There's Jeremy Gerstner. I'm already seeing some memes on Twitter about him, and they're pretty interesting. But he is he's honestly a great guy to talk to, family man. But when emotion gets to you, sometimes it can get the best of you. Matt Montanari, Craig Lutz, and Austin Pickens rounds out the 25-car field. And there you see, we had the parking lot packed here today at New Smyrna Speedway, the grandstands as well. It started out with the Classic Modified meetup at noon today, and then we saw 3 divisions of racing here tonight. And Adam Mackey, we have one more night to go.
One final night, and then there's one, as they say, is tomorrow night, 7:30. Sportsmen, Florida Modifieds, and Pro Late Models run their final race of the World Series, 35 laps in each of those events. Then a little intermission to grab a bite to eat, little something to drink to get ready for what I think will be one heck of a race, a 100-lapper for the Super Late Models.
We've seen a lot of drama between Ty Majeski and Harrison Burton this week. Then there's that kid, 14 years old, Sam Mayer, the former Legends car standout, looking pretty sporty and battling for a championship with none other than classy Stephen Nasse. It's going to be interesting tomorrow night here at New Smyrna.
Going to be a ton of fun. I can't wait, except that means that the fun is almost over.
Join us tomorrow night on Fans Choice TV on behalf of everyone here on this broadcast, including our announced team, Casey LaJoy, Rob Blount, Connor Sullivan, Adam Mackey. I'm Bob Dillner, and we'll see you tomorrow night from New Smyrna Speedway.